Are you one of the 9 million Floridians living in a community managed by a property manager or HOA? If you've ever wondered what your rights are as a resident or what your role is as a volunteer board member, you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Condo Coaches, your resource for when your gated community starts to feel more like you're stuck behind bars, or when that guy next door decides that a hot pink Chevy on cinder blocks really sets the tone for the neighborhood. The Condo Coaches is brought to you by lmfunding.com. Find the Condo Coaches online at thecondocoaches.com. And now your host, Johnny Torres.
Hello once again, it's the Condo Coaches radio show from whenever and wherever you may be listening. Thecondocoaches.com is our website. That's thecondocoaches.com is our website. If you have an issue with your homeowners association, maybe you're on the board of directors, maybe you're in a condo association, and you need some help, you can reach us via email at help@thecondocoaches.com. That's help@thecondocoaches.com. And of course, our phone number, 813-331-5415. That's 813-331-5415. And right now we are streaming live on Facebook. So you can find us at facebook.com/thecondocoaches. We'll also take your questions and your comments there. And if you ever missed a show, which you've probably missed a few by now, you can catch those on YouTube, SoundCloud, and of course, as I said, facebook.com/thecondocoaches. So you can take the show wherever you want to go.
Exactly.
And of course, we're also carried worldwide on the iHeartRadio app, which is amazing. So you can listen from anywhere in the world, and we're ready to help you with all of your association needs. With us, as always, head coach Dean Akers. Dean, thank you so much for being here as always.
Thank you, John. It's just been awesome this last week. Crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be a little cozy in here because it's just you and I, but that's okay. We're going to have a lot of fun today.
Well, you know, this is our what? Is this our fifth
show? Yeah.
This is our fifth show. And all the communication has prompted me to take a week off of some of our condo coach experts because of the communication on communicating.
Right.
So I thought today we'd talk some about that and bring out some of the things that can help condo boards move their associations forward with great communication styles.
Well, and for those of you listening for the first time, the Condo Coaches are a group of people who have worked in just about every area imaginable in terms of working with condominium and homeowners associations. They can help you whether it's construction issues, whether it's governing document issues, whether it's legal issues, property management companies, vendors, that sort of thing. That's what the Condo Coaches are here to help you with. And again, if you want to jump in on the show, 813-331-5415 is our phone number, or you can email us, help@thecondocoaches.com. You'll get an email from Dean himself, and he'll certainly pick up the phone as well.
One of the things about our condo coaches, because I had one of the persons ask me the other day, one of our persons looking for a condo coach, they said, "How are your condo coaches compensated?" Mm-hmm. And I said, these condo coaches are volunteering their time.
Right.
They're various professionals in various parts of industries with condos, but they're volunteering and they agree to not solicit. So when they go to see you about a roof issue or go to see you about a legal or property management, they're not going out there saying, "Hey, look, I'm glad you called because I'm the right solution." They're going out to help coach you and how to find the right solution, and they adhere to that on tens.
Yeah, again, this isn't a sales pitch that we're coming in to do. And in fact, one of the other things that we do gratis is an assessment. You know,
right.
When 2 episodes ago, we were talking about security and trying to find the right security vendor for your community. We had our security coach, Jake, with us, and he talked about coming out to your community, doing a security assessment on your property, and obviously with your current vendor, if you have one. And if not, he would certainly point you in the right direction towards making a more informed decision in regards to security.
And boy, did that stimulate. I was shocked. I got several calls off that.
Okay.
But one of them was almost disturbing, and we've since gone and helped them and stuff. It was a group down in Southeast Florida. They called and were sharing their story. So they didn't call saying, "We need coaching." They called for coaching for something else.
Yeah.
But they called to share a story where because they had not taken care of their security, and somebody actually got through the gate because the gate was broken and blah, blah, blah. And in this tragic case, somebody was actually killed, murdered.
Wow.
And but the condo association's insurances and the condo had to come out of pocket for liabilities because of their security. Not because they did or didn't have security. they didn't have the security they said they had.
Okay.
They would have been better off having none.
Sure, yeah, because then they wouldn't have been liable.
Correct. So that's an important for our listeners is why the condo coaches can not only just help. He was calling for something else.
Right.
And he called off of that show, and then it just developed into some real help.
And we see it in communities all over the place where, the gate will sit broken for 2 or 3 months and it's never getting repaired. And like you said, I mean, that's a huge liability for the community. And the community as a whole is going to be liable if anything happens in that type of situation.
Horrible.
Yeah. Well, and another assessment that we do, and again, we send these experts out there for free to come and talk to you and give you an idea of what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and how to get you back on the right track is just a general assessment, right? It's of the board of directors, of your community as a whole. Tell us a little bit more about that assessment.
Well, we have a couple pieces of it, but one of them we just did, and it was for a board member that was looking for a property management company.
Okay.
He was unhappy with their property management company, so he was wanting to change. So we went out and did an assessment, and our assessment was, tell us what you want out of a property management company. And they gave us all the criteria and everything, and we even went to their contract, and it was in there. So it's back kind of to the show today. Right. It's more communications, because the one they were wanting to get rid of was probably no worse or better than the one they were going to get. And I'm not selling property management or whatever, but
sure,
their issues were more communication issues with their property management company and setting expectations. So I asked him for his list of expectations in writing and how he had submitted them. And guess what he told me? He hadn't done it, which goes back to our whole communication show today.
Yeah, and so, for those of you watching online on Facebook, this is our communications episode where we are going to discuss all the various aspects of communication because there are so many moving pieces. I mean, if you want to lump them in, you've got your residents, your board of directors, and your property management company. Those are the three main players, right, in any community. And you can kind of lump the vendors into the property management. Yeah. Let's say, in this kind of a hypothetical situation to get the conversation started, the developer, the builder has just handed over the community association to the residents. What is the best way to establish a strong foundation for communication in the community?
Well, a couple things, even whether the developers just handed it over or not. One is how do you reach your other community members? Today, you really need to look at email campaigns because it's just very effective. You can use various programs like MailChimp, which allows you to get a click that they opened it.
Right.
So there's just a lot of tools, but email's one of probably the best. The other one is orientation packages. People send a big old box of 80 pages of stuff, which has a lot of mumbo legal stuff you need to know.
Sure.
But what I find when I go out to boards, some of the big communication issues are always the same 5 things. So if somebody gets acclimated to those 5 things and addresses those big issues in their package, about dogs or parking, it just solves so many problems.
Well, it's one of those things where now with previously with phone lines, I think now with email addresses, everybody has at least one email address, I would say, for the most part. And so establishing a really strong, accurate email database, like you said, MailChimp's a great service. I use it for a lot of the different organizations that I'm a part of. It's free up to, a few hundred, I think, email addresses. 2,000. There you go. So if you're a community, which most are, I think, under 2,000, that's a free service there that they can take advantage of, and it looks professional, very easy to use, and then of course, in terms of how often that people should send something out. Do you see as a best practice? Maybe it's once a month, maybe it's once a week. I mean, what do you see works best?
Well, the newsletters are effective to go once a month. Mm-hmm. And you can usually find somebody in your association that'll do them. And there's newsletter programs that you just cut and paste, and they're pretty easy to send out.
Well, even MailChimp has templates you can use.
Absolutely.
Right.
One of the cool things that I've recently found that really makes a lot of sense is getting local vendors to put coupons in the newsletter.
Yeah.
So now people are really reading them because they're looking at the $5 off on a pizza or something instead of sticking it up at their door or under their door. It's just a very effective way to have them engage in your newsletter.
Well, and if there's any cost to any of that, you can obviously charge for those advertisements.
Well, I'll tell you something we're doing at the Condo Coaches. It just is a kind of a limited, I don't know how long we'll do it. We're putting together the surveys for any association board that asks now for their association board, and we're using that. And then I've done 2 newsletter templates and the first newsletters as the Condo Coaches to get them started to show them the impact. And we'll do that for free right now.
That's awesome. Okay, and if you want to sign up for that, you can do so by emailing us, help@thecondocoaches.com, help@thecondocoaches.com. Dean will absolutely be the one kind of spearheading that and get your communication set up for your community. 813-331-5415 is the number where you can reach Dean by phone or any of the Condo Coaches. 813-331-5415 is our phone number. And, of course, you can always find us at thecondocoaches.com. That's thecondocoaches.com. When we get to the next segment, I do want to hear a little bit about the generational differences, because especially in condominiums, I would assume maybe even more so than in single family home communities. I mean, that's just my assumption. That there's some generational gaps. There's a lot of diversity in the type of people that live in these communities, and to reach them, you got to try different things. Am I right?
Yep, absolutely. I've been blessed to be a public speaker nationally, and one of my big topics that I speak to CEO groups and other big groups is generational communication. It's a huge challenge.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that in the next segment. Communication is our topic for today here on the Condo Coaches radio show. Again, if you want to participate, 813-331-5415 is our phone number. 813-331-5415. help@thecondocoaches.com is our email address if you need help. And you can also chat with us on Facebook, facebook.com/thecondocoaches. We'll be back.
Contact the Condo Coaches online at thecondocoaches.com. More of the Condo Coaches is coming up next.
In the current real estate market, all too often dictated by banks and foreclosing mortgagees, it is vital that your homeowner and condominium association has a team of experienced litigators who will fight for your community. There are many alternatives to banks that aren't paying and just stalling. Business Law Group fights for community associations to collect past due assessments, fees, and costs from unit owners that don't pay. This also impacts the paying owners. Business Law Group can help with this unfair situation and offer multiple solutions that can help break this logjam. Their office is comprised of attorneys with experience in homeowner and condominium association law. The next time you need a professional law firm to represent you, call Business Law Group. Bring in the team that's going to fight for your community. Contact the Business Law Group. Their phone number is 813-379-3804. That's 813-379-3804. Or visit blawgroup.com. blawgroup.com.
Welcome back to the Condo Coaches, online at thecondocoaches.com. Here's your host, Johnny Torres.
Thank you so much for listening. 813-331-5415 is our number if you'd like to participate. We're also streaming live on Facebook, facebook.com/The Condo Coaches. And of course, on our website, you can catch all of our previous episodes. And on our website, we have tons of blog posts now. We got our website up and running. It looks amazing. We have tons of content on there already for you to go through. So if you are a first-time board member, guess what? Our first piece of premium content on the website is 10 things you need to know if you're a first-time board member. So make sure you go to thecondocoaches.com. All you got to do is fill out a little form, and you're going to get our training booklet absolutely free on the 10 things you need to know if you're a first-time board member. You've checked that out because obviously you approved it and you let us put it on the website.
We've given it out at a trade show we attended this week, so it's really popular.
Well, and that's the thing, we want to be a resource, we want to be educational, and something like that again is going to be incredibly valuable for people who want to volunteer their time. They want to give their time back to the community, but maybe aren't really sure exactly what they got themselves into. And this really kind of puts it in a very easy to read format. So check out that booklet at thecondocoaches.com. 10 things you need to know if you're a first time board member. And if you have any other questions on that, you can email us, help@thecondocoaches.com, help@thecondocoaches.com. We're talking communication on today's episode. Head coach Dean Akers with us as always. And we were talking about the generational divide in a community. It's great, 2016, in the United States, and, almost regardless of where you live, you're going to have a diverse community, whether it's a high rise or whether it's a single family home community or a multifamily home community. You'll have seniors all the way down to first time homeowners. What have you done? What have you implemented to help these boards understand how they need to communicate with their residents?
Well, there's a generational communication we'll talk briefly about, but there's also tips on just communication style in general. Mm-hmm. But the baby boomers, we have a lot of baby boomers in the state of Florida, and it's growing, and that's from the birth years 1946 to 1964. Great group. They're loyalists. They're great to communicate with. They love communication. Then comes along your Gen Xers, born in 65 to 76. And if anybody's ever studied the Gen Xers, they're very cynical and stuff. So they actually happen to be mirroring now a lot of condos because they're in that age that they're coming in. They're already in there. So they're not like the Gen Yers yet.
Right.
So they're mixing huge conflicts in communication.
Wow. And, we mentioned even in our first episode of all the different ways you can communicate now. I am connected to my phone. I might as well be just sewn to my hand because I'm always on it. It's right next to me at night when I sleep, on my night table. So there's texting, there's messaging, there's email, there is, of course, phone calls. There's also traditional mail. We were talking a little bit about how to get off on the right foot, and we talked a little bit about mail. Do you see it effective or worthwhile to maybe also implement some texting or phone call strategies to communicate with residents?
Absolutely. I would, in my new member hiring sheet or come-in sheet, I'd ask them for the best way they like to be communicated with.
Okay.
Because I can tell you, in one of my previous companies, which wasn't a condo association, obviously, we assumed everybody wanted email. And then we sent out and asked, what's the best way you want to be communicated with? Over 60% of the people, now these were not kids, responded back by text.
Wow.
So we implemented texting software, and there's texting software out there for group text that is free or so cheap it's not even a cup of coffee.
Sure.
Where you could put your condo, all your condo members on there, and you might have it. And it's really great for safety because if there's something happened, there's a fire. You laughingly joked earlier about we're almost disconnected. Think about all this with our phones. We won't even look at it when it rings sometimes.
Right.
But when that bell goes off that we got a text,
that's right.
We're all over it.
Or a notification, yeah.
Yeah, so
right.
Texting's highly effective for community associations. I really encourage it.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about because this really, as we've said many times, is at the root of most of the problems you see in any community. What do you see as the most prevalent one? We talk about sometimes it's the rules, which we always encourage that you read your governing documents. When it comes to communication, where does the breakdown usually happen and what's it typically regarding?
Well, it has to do with communication style. And I'll give you an example. When you're talking to somebody and a communication goes from what you're talking about, the facts, and goes to the emotion, when the emotion gets introduced, all of a sudden you have all these plays. Like, for instance, somebody will say, da 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 da, and the response from the board of director will go, I agree, but. And they use the but word. And what does the but word do? It negates what?
Everything you just said.
Everything you just said.
Sure.
And I think as a board member, you should almost put that as a placard that you stare at when you're up there during a meeting and not say, da, 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 but, and then that because you negate it, which creates animosity, anger, and everything else.
It's dismissive.
It's totally dismissive.
Right.
That's the word we need.
Yep.
And then the other big one that I've witnessed, and I just watch it go. And by the way, I was president of a large board in my community that I lived in. And when you interrupt, so they're talking and you go, whatever, you interrupt, guess what happens then? You lose connection again.
Right. And now the meeting's disrupted and someone's getting their feelings hurt. It gets pretty ugly from there.
And it's just all emotional. I sat in one the other day and I was like, are you kidding me? This thing turned into a literal, almost screaming match between people that had nothing to do with the facts. And what they were arguing about was, interestingly enough, a legitimate argument that I subsequently have gone and sent a coach out to help, and it really helped them with. But
yeah, and if people haven't implemented these kind of foundational communication strategies, that's something we'd be more than happy to come out and consult. You can find us at thecondocoaches.com. It's an easy place to learn more about us and what we do, and watch previous episodes. Of course, we got tons of blog content up on the website now. 813-331-5415 is our phone number, and that rings right to Dean himself. So the head coach answering all the phone calls, 813-331-5415. And you can also email us. We love answering your emails. We love, it's a great way to kind of get the conversation started. And so that way we can start helping you resolve your issues. help@thecondocoaches.com is that email address. help@thecondocoaches.com. And if you did miss an episode, again, Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud, or on our website, you can find us. Just look up the Condo Coaches. We talked about communicating with residents, and are there any legal requirements that you're aware of in terms? I know, is it, for example, after the annual meeting, are there financial reports that you have to distribute to the membership? I mean, that's obviously a big part of communicating, and seems to also cause a lot of issues when people don't know how their money's being spent.
Well, what we see there is they can get their financial reports, and interestingly enough, of all my communications, the least tend to be around the financial reporting. People tend to just read that budget, and most of them don't understand it.
Sure.
So I find more condescending comments and not listening to what the individual's issues are to be what disrupts a meeting. I've been to numbers of meetings, and somebody's pass a motion, or first off, they don't approve the budget in that meeting, but they see it and they may ask a couple questions, but generally it's not a big issue.
So what is the best way to handle that? I mean, there's obviously some business that needs to be handled in the meeting. I've seen that typically they'll leave that type of feedback or open floor type of setup for the end of the meeting, where then people can have the floor, ask questions, or make statements. Is that typically the best way to execute a meeting, and having those lines of communication be open?
It's absolutely the best way. The question is, does it really happen? In other words, the actual minutes of the meeting are just for actions taken to be statutorily correct. And I'm not an attorney. You need to ask your attorney about that. But that's the challenge is somebody will say something and they'll go, okay, there's nobody recording that and saying who's going to chair that, or we'll get back with you, and giving them a date certain. We'll find that out and get back with you Friday, December, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So it's real important that they feel like you've acknowledged their situation, not just shook your head and they know nobody ever really acknowledges it.
Well, and you're also recommending that they take those items and implement them as part of the minutes, even though it's not legally required, but it's also to keep track of those items. That way in the following meeting, they can say, okay, well, these issues were brought up and this is what we did to resolve them.
Well, I talked to an attorney. Again, you want to talk to your attorney, and they basically said there's no requirements. They don't want them in there, blah, blah, blah. So what I said was, is there any detriment for somebody, the secretary, just to keep those bulleted items so they can talk about them? And
Sure.
They go, no, that's a great idea.
Maybe in a separate record,
Right.
But make it part of the overall meeting minutes.
Yeah.
Where they don't have to obviously include those to the official minutes, but
Right.
they carry over from meeting to meeting as to what they need to address.
And the beauty of that is, forget all this official stuff. When people see you communicating and follow through, guess what happens to their trust factor?
Yeah, now it goes way up.
It goes way up.
Right.
And then you build a strong community.
Right.
Strong.
Well, again, and we're talking communication today. If you want to participate, 813-331-5415 is our phone number, 813-331-5415. Head coach Dean Akers with us today. Yours truly, Johnny Torres, the Condo Coaches radio show at thecondocoaches.com. We'll be back after this.
Contact the Condo Coaches online at thecondocoaches.com. More of the Condo Coaches is coming up next.
At LM Funding, they believe that condo associations and owners shouldn't have to take on the financial responsibility of delinquency and the hassle of collections. That's why they buy problems. Before LM Funding, condo associations would have to hire attorneys to collect bad debt. But LM Funding is changing that, turning debt into instant cash, freeing condo associations from the burden of collection and allowing them to continue their operations. For a no-cost consultation, visit lmfunding.com or call 866-235-5001. It works like this. LM Funding is going to make sure you're not left holding the bag for something that shouldn't be your responsibility. They buy problems. LM Funding will purchase the right to collect delinquent dues on your behalf, making sure the association never has to pay another legal bill for collections again. Let LM Funding buy your problems. Call 866-235-5001 or visit lmfunding.com. That's lmfunding.com.
Welcome back to the Condo Coaches, online at thecondocoaches.com. Here's your host, Johnny Torres.
Thank you so much for listening. The Condo Coaches radio show. You can find us at thecondocoaches.com online. Thecondocoaches.com is our website. Just launched a beautiful new website with tons of blog content on there. Also a premium booklet that you can download today and share with all of your board of directors and resident friends. It's the 10 things you need to know if you are a first-time board member, and that's going to be an exclusive part of our website. It's our premium content, if you will, and you can find that again at thecondocoaches.com. If you have questions on that or anything we're talking about today, you can email us, help@thecondocoaches.com, help@thecondocoaches.com. Head coach Dean Akers with us. We're talking communication. The breakdown seems to happen more when personalities conflict. And one of the things that we do mention in the first time member booklet is, taking the emotion out of it, right? Staying professional, making sure that everybody's being respectful. And these things kind of create a lot of that division in a community, right? You just said, obviously, the more communication, the more trust you build among the residents. What about with the property management company? I mean, there are times where things maybe aren't getting done, or people feel like, the property management company isn't living up to their expectations. And we've seen some communication issues arise there. Give us an idea of how to start handling those.
Well, one thing, first off, the boards are voluntary.
Right.
And just had this recently where they were upset with their property management firm. And we came in as a coaching, and there's a lot of property management firms in the state of Florida. I think there's over 1,000 of them. And I would say they all get out of bed in the morning to do a great job on behalf of their associations. But just like anything else, they have communication problems. Right. And so what will happen is setting expectations. And the board should set expectations and really look to them to hold those up and do measurements, just like you would do a performance review with your employees, where you do a quarterly sit down and say, here's what we see, and talk it out. Don't make it adversarial.
Sure. Well, and again, I mean, do you recommend, because of course their primary point of contact is going to be that board of directors, right? Probably the chairperson of that board of directors. Do you recommend that maybe the property management attend the resident meetings, or should we kind of keep that line of communication funneled through the board?
Well, they generally are always there, because your property management firms are the ones setting up your notices, working with you on your budgets. They're they're kind of like your staff. If you had a company, they're your staff. So you just want to make sure your staff is performing well, because they're there to serve for the board of directors as what I call staff for the condominium association.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Because I mean, and typically, do you see them engaging in the meetings, or do they kind of just try to sit in the back of the room and just let the meeting kind of go on as it should? Yeah.
By and large, they sit in the back of the room. They try to anticipate. I tell you what, the property managers do an awesome job, but it's pretty overwhelming because they're like a traffic cop for sometimes as many as 500 people, and they've got to really work close with the board to get that communication going. The one thing I would share with you that I think property managers might be able to help more is coaching their boards on communication styles. And I don't see a lot of times the property management companies are actually coaching their own teams on how to coach on communication styles.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Because again, I mean, people don't do this professionally. I mean, these are all volunteers, and you don't have, because you have people from all walks of life, not all of them interact with people on a regular basis, or maybe have run meetings before. And again, it's sometimes if you're sitting on a board, it's tough not to take it personal, when they're talking about maybe whether or not you're doing a good job.
Well, I've done one, and I'm getting invited to condo management associations to come in and do one of their lunch meetings they have or whatever, and just visit with all their property managers on communication styles. The same thing of the show today. They can almost record it.
Now, we obviously mentioned the 10 things you need to know if you're a first-time board member. It's a premium download on our website at thecondocoaches.com. You've also mentioned, we had Percy Lejean here a while back. He is also president of the Condominium Association Institute.
Right.
And are there some resources there that might be available to them for this type of issue with communication and establishing some better communication policies?
Yeah, your CAI, your local chapter, he's head of the Suncoast chapter here in this region of Florida, but they're all over. Actually, they're all over the United States. They have tons of resources, and they have speakers. If you're a board member and you're not attending your CAI meeting in your area, if it's financial, call the Condo Coaches. I have people right now that are willing to kind of pick up maybe some breakfast cost at these associations on behalf, if you're a board member and just can't afford to attend it.
Right. Yeah. And again, I mean, really, they're an organization or an association of condominium association boards around the country.
Right. And management companies.
Right. Okay.
Right. So.
And again, with the communication aspect, when that's the topic we're focusing on today. We talked a little bit about it in the first segment. All right. People kind of come and go in these communities all the time. What do you see as a good procedure or process to have in place when maybe you have renters that are coming and going, or maybe you have change in ownership of the condo or home in your community?
Well, a couple things. One is I just met with a group last week, and they were talking about people coming and going. And then I asked them, how do you give them the information? Well, they need to ask for it. I said, well, you need to give them the rules and regulations, but just don't give them a 70-page package. Give them the bullets of the things that are always an issue. If there's something about cleaning out something that's never an issue, don't get them mired down that. Bullet the big items that that the association thinks are really important. Parking, external stuff on the leaving your garbage out, all the stuff they have that are the major issues.
Yeah, the things that always come up.
But I want to share with you something about board communications, and also about, our free download.
Yeah.
You know what's really cool about it?
What's that?
It's great for a non-first-time board member.
That's right.
No, I'm serious. I gave one out to a board member who'd been around for a while, and he goes, wow, we should all be re-upping on this every year, just kind of thumbing through it. So it's a great resource. But one of the other things we just did was, when you go to your meetings, the opening thing, and I did this with the big association, is everybody stand up and give us one thing that's right about our association and go around the room.
That's good.
Changes the whole dynamic.
Sure, of course. Now you're thinking positively. There's some feel good in the room. There's some good juju, as some people might put it. And I've heard you mention in the past about doing a new resident orientation. I guess this is maybe something more common in condo buildings. What does that consist of? What is if somebody wants to put together a new resident orientation or a new resident welcome committee or something like that, give us an idea of what that looks like.
Well, you want a board member to welcome the new community members, whether they're renters or purchasers. Because a lot of people go, well, the renters are here and there, but they have to follow the same rules. Bring them into your clubhouse or wherever you are and ask them, go through the whole same sets of things. Tell them what the beauties of moving into an association is. What's interesting is I've had a couple calls from people that were upset with their association. So they were residents.
Okay.
I asked them, why did you move in there? And they go, they moved in there for the very reason they were upset. In other words, they wanted consistency. They wanted to know that the houses would all be kept up and all that.
Sure.
And they were upset about something. So you know how we've probably all had that in our life where the rules are okay for everybody else.
Right.
But not for me.
Well, and it's such a tough balance act, for a board of directors because you see it, as the board changes, you see that some boards are a little too relaxed, some boards are a little too strict, and obviously it's tough to find that right balance to where not only is the community looking great and everybody's happy, but also the residents aren't feeling like they're overwhelmed with this kind of overbearing board of directors that's kind of telling them what to do and how to do it.
Well, there's a fiduciary responsibility in being in a board.
Right.
And it's a tough role. It's not paid. You're sometimes 7-figure $1 million budgets. So you're having to bring a lot of expertise to a business all of a sudden. We had one the other day where she was really upset because somebody was flying a non-American flag. In their condo docs, it specifically says there are no flags to be flown except for American flags. It's very specific. It says no other things, holiday flags or anything else. But this particular board didn't think it was a problem. Well, they have a responsibility. It'd be like me riding with the mayor and he goes, oh, I don't care. You can do 80 miles an hour. I don't think it's a problem.
Yeah. The minute somebody takes an issue with it, you have to address it. You can't ignore it.
Well, you have to do what's in the documents. You're a representative of the documents. You're not a representative of your opinion.
Well, in taking that role, you are, saying that you are going to uphold those governing documents.
Right.
And at that point, I mean, maybe, depending on the issue, it may be worth discovering, or addressing whether or not maybe the rules need to be amended.
Absolutely. So if everybody thinks that it's an old rule and it's not applicable, then just go through the amendment process at your annual meeting. Although that's a pretty, you have to have 66% of the people agree or vote on it. But you want to do it the right way. You have taken on a responsibility. Unfortunately, you're not paid. But I think my hat's off to all the board members out there across the state of Florida that are doing this, because it is a real job. It's a real job. Well,
and a thankless one at that.
Totally.
Because, typically you don't hear very often that someone loves their board members.
Well, and, that's another communication thing. I think as residents, I was in one the other night, actually, here in Tampa Bay area, and the board member stood up and says, look, I don't get paid.
Right.
Now, what he was doing, he was screaming out like, hey, I'm donating 20, 30 hours a month to help you, and you're acting like you're mad at me.
Right.
And it created this kind of conflict, and the person apologized, which was nice. But at the end of the day, these board members are doing the best they can. And that's why that board member packet or getting a condo coach to come out for an issue or to talk about communication direct with your board, that's why we started this thing, and that's why it's no charge, no vendor can solicit, and it's to help the boards and or the members of associations.
All right. The topic is communication. We're going to have one more segment here to talk about it. If you want to jump in, 813-331-5415, 813-331-5415. thecondocoaches.com is where you can download that booklet, 10 things you absolutely need to know if you're a first-time board member. Download that right now. And, of course, if you have any questions on it, you can email us, help@thecondocoaches.com. Head coach Dean Akers, yours truly, Johnny Torres, the Condo Coaches radio show. We'll be back after this.
Contact the Condo Coaches online at thecondocoaches.com. More of the Condo Coaches is coming up next.
In the current real estate market, all too often dictated by banks and foreclosing mortgagees, it is vital that your homeowner and condominium association has a team of experienced litigators who will fight for your community. There are many alternatives to banks that aren't paying and just stalling. Business Law Group fights for community associations to collect past due assessments, fees, and costs from unit owners that don't pay. This also impacts the paying owners. Business Law Group can help with this unfair situation and offer multiple solutions that can help break this logjam. Their office is comprised of attorneys with experience in homeowner and condominium association law. The next time you need a professional law firm to represent you, call Business Law Group. Bring in the team that's going to fight for your community. Contact the Business Law Group. Their phone number is 813-379-3804. That's 813-379-3804. Or visit blawgroup.com. blawgroup.com.
Welcome back to the Condo Coaches, online at thecondocoaches.com. Here's your host, Johnny Torres.
TheCondoCoaches.com is where you can download that premium download. It's our very first one, 10 things you absolutely need to know if you're a first-time board member. And it's not just for board members. I mean, we talked about that in the last segment. Even if you're a resident, I mean, it's incredibly helpful to understand what the responsibilities are and what these board members do actually deal with when they sign up to be a board member. And so whether you're a resident or you are sitting on the board of directors, give that a download. All you got to do is just let us know how to get a hold of you, and we'll give you a copy of it absolutely free. And then you can email it to all your friends. It's thecondocoaches.com, thecondocoaches.com. And you can call us if you've got a specific question about your community. We get some really interesting scenarios. I mean, every phone call is different. Every email is different. But man, it's never a dull moment when we're talking about associations. And you can call in at 813-331-5415, 813-331-5415. Head coach Dean Akers, we're talking communication. And so we're starting to pick apart a little bit about, the communication between residents, between the property managers, and of course, the board of directors. Is there something kind of unique? I mean, would it help to maybe do something like a monthly mixer or maybe a quarterly mixer where it's not a meeting, there's no business being discussed, but everybody's just trying to kind of get to know each other? I mean, we've really lost that sense of community, even in single family home communities, even in these big master plan communities. It seems like we've kind of gotten away from knowing who our neighbors are. Do you see little events like that where people can kind of socialize and network to be helpful?
I do, and I see it primarily in the plus 55s.
Okay.
The plus 55s, they'll have amenities and they'll have their clubhouse. One I went to down in South St. Pete, every Friday night at 5, they have a BYOB mixer at the pool and out on the water.
Nice.
And they have a big turnout. Everybody knows everybody. And when you talk about their board issues, guess how many they have?
Yeah.
None.
Right.
Because everybody kind of is venting or everybody's communicating all the time. It seems like in the ones where they have families and working and everybody's going 100 miles an hour, it seems harder to get those people together.
Yeah.
But I'd ask a vendor, if I was a property, I'd ask a vendor or property management maybe to host one of those things. I know
Sure.
vendors that'll host a little wine and cheese for all the residents and stuff. Just
Yeah,
to
and
get
they
them
might,
together.
right? And they might get some extra business, if they're a security company or a landscaping company or something like that, that may want to come on and put something on for the residents. And so, when we're talking about, building this community, do you see when you're talking about meetings and when you're scheduling them, typically they're done on weeknights. Have you seen maybe somebody try weekends and whether that's been successful?
That's a good question. Next couple of weeks, I'll reach out to people and see.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen them done on weekends.
Because I would think, for some people, like myself, I'm a part of a number of organizations, I stay pretty active. I'm not much of a homebody. And so for me to commit to going to a meeting on a Tuesday night is pretty difficult, or a Thursday night, whenever it might be. It's sometimes it's easier for me to do something on the weekend than it is during the week.
Well, it'd be neat if you reach out to our listeners and ask them to go and in that comment section or request section, just say, hey, yeah, we have weekend meetings. It'd be really interesting, and we could bring that data back if people would provide us the information.
We'll post it on Facebook, too. It'll be interesting to see what kind of a response we get because, again, most of them hold them like weeknights, maybe 6 o'clock. But life gets in the way, and sometimes you forget. And I think maybe being on a weekend when everybody's usually kind of either home or at least relaxing, may make it easier for people to attend.
Makes sense.
When you see apathy in a community, of course, sometimes it's a good thing, like you said, maybe because they see each other all the time and they don't feel there's a need for them to show up. Or the apathy comes from maybe them not feeling like they have a vested interest, even though they are paying into the community association. What have you seen in terms of trying to address that, to improve that communication, where the people are attending meetings, where they are take a more active role even as a resident to attend their board of directors meetings?
That goes back to communication, because you see it especially when they have some renters in there. Mm-hmm. It's almost like they go, well, renters are bad people. We don't communicate with them.
Yeah.
But it's important to communicate with them too. And that's where your newsletters, your surveys, and all that, being consistent with that, will provide great feedback to what you need to do to create what I call esprit de corps, or a sense of community. And this time of year during the holiday seasons, there can be a lot of things you can do, whether it's ask your community if they want to, in our area, go all work together at Metropolitan Ministries.
Sure.
If you had 10 people out of your community go to Metropolitan Ministries or one of the other helpful places in the community here, it can't do anything but just build another big point of sense of community.
Right, and you're building friendships, and you're improving those lines of communication.
Right.
Because sometimes it's also, you don't want to call a complete stranger and start asking them questions.
Totally.
And that brings me, to another point which you touched on, which is renters. I've been a renter in a community before, and the truth is that they are just as responsible for the maintenance of that home or that condominium as the owner is. And in a lot of cases, I've seen where there is apathy to really do your best to keep up, your home if you're a renter, because again, they don't feel like they're part of that community. They feel like they're treated like the unwanted, in the community, where they're not necessarily welcome.
Oh, totally. You'll sit there and you'll say, "Oh, those people, they're renters." Well, let me tell you what, it's their home.
Right.
It's their home. They have pride in their home. If you walk in their home, they have pride in it. Get them involved in your community. Who knows? They may be a purchaser, and they may be a member of your community by buying a condo in there when they really see how well or the lifestyle of living in that community is.
Well, and again, they have their own responsibilities that they have to keep up with, in terms of the lawn and the trash, and making sure that, they're also not violating the rules of the community. And so do you find it to be incredibly important or at least productive to kind of make sure that they build a relationship with the renters in their community as well?
Well, I had a meeting with the board president recently, and she was ranting and raving about how bad the renters were. She goes, the renters don't do this. The renters don't do this. The renters don't do this. I said, well, have you ever just met them? Just gone up, not to say your car's parked wrong, but to say, hi, I'm Susie, president. I just want to introduce you and welcome you to our community. We love our community. We hope you love it. And these are just a couple of things that we do in our community. And it was amazing to me, her answer. And guess what it was?
No.
No, exactly.
She's never done it.
No.
Yeah.
So guess what? There go those renters again.
Yeah, of course. Well, and they don't feel that they're welcome in the community. They don't feel like they're appreciated in the community, and it's going to discourage them from really taking more ownership in the home, even if they don't necessarily legally own the home.
Well, I have challenged boards on this before. They don't always know that it's really renters that are the problem.
Sure.
It becomes a great scapegoat.
Yeah.
The reason this is because of renters. Okay, really?
Well, yeah, and you're right. They like to fall back on that, so they have somebody. Everybody likes to have the boogeyman,
right?
And sometimes the renters end up being that boogeyman. Do you feel that it's appropriate? Obviously for social activities, definitely, but would you say that it's appropriate for renters to attend board meetings?
I don't know why. If I was a board member today, I would encourage every resident to attend, whether they had input or not. Is just because it can never hurt. To me, there's no downside to having a resident come to a board meeting and share either what they have going on or what they see.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I mean, they're whether they don't get a vote in it,
No.
but they do get, even if they're able to voice their opinion, I mean, it's something that may have a legitimate claim there. There may be a legitimate issue that needs to be addressed, right?
Absolutely.
So we talked about email, we talked about text messaging. Do you see nowadays, with so many other ways to communicate, that phone calls are still necessary and effective, when trying to open these lines of communication?
Well, I always ask this question when people say that. I said, do you look at your caller ID? And they go, yes. Do you answer it when you don't know it? And the answer is no. I said, you just answered your own question.
Right.
So I think the using the surveys, the newsletters, and different forms of communication and being consistent will always, and the text. Let me say one other thing. If you do not have a website, you need to get a website for your community. You can get them. You can go online and get them for next to nothing,
Sure.
and you can make them really easily. Make sure it's your website. A lot of people use websites that are really the management company's website.
Right.
And so if you change management companies for whatever reason, guess what happens to your website?
Yeah, gone.
So
Right.
get your own domain name and your own website, spend a few bucks, and then use it as a tool. And have your management company maybe help you with it as a tool, but you own the domain, you own the website.
It's a great point. Great point. My community has a Facebook group, so
Yeah.
let us know how you communicate in your community at thecondocoaches.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next time with another great show. Say bye, Dean.
You've been listening to the Condo Coaches, brought to you by lmfunding.com. Find us online at thecondocoaches.com and join us this same time next week as we help you navigate life in your managed community.